welcome to Sandpaper. So today we are going to start with the APSC Mains analysis part 2. Okay, this is the APSC Mains analysis part 2. Our part 2 we analyze for GS2 and GS3 questions. So at a disclaimer moi agote di diu ki amar jonto Telegram or poster share hoisile tat 18 out of 20 hoy ase etu 17 out of 20 hobo lage etu jate ami gom pao. Okay, so কোৱাখিনি কৈছো আমাৰ লেট হৈছে actually আমি আগতে আনিব লাগিছিলে but আমাৰ the last foundation batch of APSC CCE 2025 which is going to be held in 2026 হেটো আমাৰ আজি start হৈছে October 16 আৰু তাৰ first class কৰিছো মই so class কৰা আগতে preparation কৰিব লাগে preparation কৰোতে মই either preparation কৰিব পাৰিছো নহলে আপোনালোকৰ current affairs class start হৈ আছে 18 তাৰিখৰ পৰা তো তাৰো preparation কৰিব লগা হৈছে so তাৰে মাজৰে recording টুকু বাদ ৰখি গৈছে because recording টু দীঘলীয়া 1.5 ঘণ্টা 2 ঘণ্টাৰ recording হৈছে so অলপমান মোৰ time লাগি গৈছে to come with the analysis I hope that you still watch us with that the same enthusiasm and eagerness. Okay, so last analysis or apnalage dekhile the performance that we have shown. So this time we have done it even better. GS2 into asile we have 19 out of 20 questions that had come from mains, answer writing, foundation, crash course, current affairs, all the modules that we provide. And GS3 17 out of 20 questions had come. So GS2 to tathapiu more or less doable asile paper con. In my opinion, GS3 is going to be the deciding paper in this mains. This is going to be the deciding paper. Because more বহুত ভাল students সকলে কৈছে যে GS3 অলপমান তেওঁলোকে যিমান পেছৰ GS1 2 বা বাকি বিলাকত গৈ আছিল GS3 তেওঁলোকে হিমান পেছৰ যাব পৰা নাই that is what was told to me and then I saw the paper দুটা এটা এনেকুৱা গুগলি আহি গৈছে যেনেকে মাইক্ৰো আৰএনএ ডিটেইলছ আহি গৈছে আমি পঢ়া নাছিলো হেতু প্ৰিলিমছতে পঢ়ি থৈ দিছিলো আকৌ আমি কোৱা নাছিলো বা যোনটো আমাৰ যোনবোৰ আমাৰ কিবা আইছিলে সানৰ জিও সিনক্ৰন আছে না that to we taught বাৰু ডাৰ্ক অক্সিজেন আমি প্ৰিলিমছত যিমান পঢ়াইছিলো হিমানে পঢ়াইছো তাৰ পিছত আমি তাৰ ওপৰ এক্সটেনশন নকৰিলো সো হে এটা দুটা যোনটো এনেকুৱা টাইপ গুগলি আইছে ন প্ৰিলিমছ টু মেইনছত আহি গৈছে হেখিনিত আমি কোবাত চুকি গলো 3 questions were not from our modules, were not from our test series, but tathapiu doable asile because tar jonto micro RNA aru jonto black dark oxygen question asile hetur upor prelims ot ami already hudisu prelims ot hegida question common ahisile tar model answer disilu but hetu ami tanibo na jao we are going to the other part. So 19 out of questions in GS2 and 17 out of 20 questions in GS3 were common from rank ready mains program and foundational Sandpaper. So let us begin. GS2 question paper to apni dekhi jage more or less you know only question paper to enekwai dothapi dekhai disu apnaloko and now we are going to the analysis part. So kisuman enekwa ke common ahi goise bostu which has surprised ourselves ki like eta hobdo okol different ase in the whole question. So it actually shows the kind of point of view we take the kind of effort that we show while we like set the question paper. No wonder people have actually tried to pirate out the questions of Sandpaper, although we took care of that legally. Kintu etwe hoy the effort, etwe hoy the right aptitude. অকল আপোনালোকে সলভ কৰা aptitude নহয় আমি question paper set কৰাৰো aptitude থাকিব লাগে আমাৰ question paper set কৰা aptitude থাকিব লাগে আমি আপোনাক কি পঢ়াইছো তাৰ aptitude পঢ়িব লাগে because মই আপোনাক সাগৰখন পঢ়াই পেলাই নালা অকমান আহিব বুলি ক'লে নহব নহয় মই আপোনাক সাগৰৰ কোনটো পাৰ্ট আহিছে হেতু দেখুৱাই দিব লাগিব that is my role as a mentor. So that is what we did in Sandpaper. So what are the key provisions and constitutional changes made by the Women Reservation Bill? This is GS1 part 2 yet this way GS1 part 2 eto mark kori dise just question number 19. So amar GS1 or jonto second paper asile tate ami hudisu the Women Reservation Act promises kiba amar political representation but will it translate it to genuine leadership and empowerment critically excellent. So etu ami jetia hudisu by default you will have to mention the provisions and the changes of the Women Reservation Bill. এটুৰ আগতো হেতু মই দিয়া নাই মানে আমি এটু এটা পইণ্টত পাইছো কি এটু দিছো দেখোন আৰু কিমান দিবা সোর্স আমাৰ জুৱা বছৰৰ যোনটো আৰোহণ হৈছিলে আৰোহণ 2.0 হ'ব হেতু তাত মই ডাইৰেক্টলি হুদিছিলো about নাৰী শক্তি বন্দন হে আৰোহণৰ কপি আৰোহণ লিখিছো অনুশীলন 2.0 যোনখন অনুশীলনৰ পেপাৰ হৈছে এটা আপোনালোকে টেলিগ্ৰামত অলপ খুচৰিলে ওপৰত পাবগে জুলাই 2024 মানৰ টাইম হয় So directly মই তাত নাৰী শক্তি বন্দনৰ আমাৰ কি provisions and constitutional changes হুদি থৈছো in fact এটো পঢ়াইছো এতিয়া এটোৱে যোনটো আমাৰ Women Reservation Act হয় বা Women Reservation Bill 2023 এটোৰ ওপৰত আমি ডাইৰেক্টলি প্ৰশ্ন আপোনালোকক সুধিয়ে থৈছো Now, key provisions ki asile 33% reservation of seat for Lok Sabha in state legislative assemblies applies within SC/ST seat reserve as well. Comes into effect next census and delimitation. Reservation valid for 15 years, extendable by Parliament. Rotation of reserve constituency after each delimitation and includes Delhi Legislative Assembly. Our constitutional and structural changes ki aise Article 330A, 332A, 334A through 239AA. Egita amend kora goise. A provision geta input korbo karone inside the constitution. Requires ratification by the 50% of the states if it gets affected for the state legislatures. এতিয়া মই পঢ়াই থাকোতে ৰিয়েলাইজ কৰিছো যে অকল মেইনছ ক্ৰাশ কোৰ্সতে নহয় আপোনালোকৰ যোনটো কাৰেন্ট এফেয়াৰ্স মডিউল আছিল তাতেও মই এটো ইন ডিটেইলছ পঢ়াইছিলো বিকজ ইট वाज ভেৰি ভেৰি অবভিয়াস যে এবাৰ নহলেও মানে জমটো ভাবিছিলো যোৱাবাৰে সুধিব যোৱাবাৰ নুসুধিলে তো এবাৰ সুধাটো এটো এক্সপেক্টেডই আছিল সো নাৰী শক্তি বন্ধন বা উইমেন ৰিজাৰ্ভেশন বিলটো আমি সুধিছিলো আৰু আমি এনালাইজ কৰি দিলো Question number 2. In moment where democratic institutions weaken, a vigilant judiciary becomes not just the guardian of the constitution, but the custodian of the people's trust. In the light of the statement, critically evaluate the strategic role of the Supreme Court of India. So, enekwa nohoy ki ami Supreme Court of India generically pohai thorisu. Supreme Court of India to sobe pohaise. Comes ki ami enekwa ki proshno hudi dilu jot apuni ei jontu APSC proshno hoy eto apuni uttor dibo para hoy gol. Question number 15, eto hoy GS2 part 1. And question number 15 asile ki likha ase judicial overreach and judicial activism are two sides of the same debate. Analyze their impact on the principle of separation of power in India's constitutional framework. Yat ki hudise when democracy weakens, jetia democracy weak hoy tetia hole eta vigilant judiciary ki kaam hoy. To ami democracy weak or logot relation rakhi principle of separation of power democratic institution weak mane ki amar legislative weak hole ki hobo hudise to ei juntu amar judicial overreach judicial activism ase hetu in light of principle of separation of power tar impact to ki hoy directly hudisilo also aru eta ase etu to beshi direct hoy etu hudisilo moi mini test series test 3 GS2 aru etu judicial legislation in length ami hikisilo in mains crash course. In fact, 99% students in judicial legislation by administrative adjudication or question to bhul korisile. Hetu mu mon ase. Ejon dujon student e parisile. Titia moi to in length pohaisilo. Question hudisu, why is judicial legislation sometimes necessary to uphold justice and address legislative gaps? Or kitna direct question puche. How much direct will a question ever be? Ki hudisu? Judicial legislation kyo lage jetia legislative gap hoy etu etu hudise legislative gap mane ki weakening of democratic institution so itia hegita bostu directly ami hudisu in our rank ready mains program aru hudisu egita baru man direct nohoy but hudisu kane koi disu je recent e-court aru online dispute resolution upor hudisu to improve access to justice etu judicial activism upor pohaiso all these things etu hol mains crash course on etu reading material etu amar foundation etu pohai disu sob disu aru pohaiso jetu So, itia tarpor ami saw democratic institution weak or just thulmulke apnalokok koi disu so that it doesn't take a lot of your time. So, in moments where democratic institutions weaken, the Supreme Court assumes a pivotal role as the guardian of the Constitution, custodian of the public trust. Through judicial review, it ensures that legislative and executive act within constitutional limit. It has intervened during crises such as Keshwananda Bharti case to uphold the basic structure doctrine and protect fundamental rights. The court has expanded right through PILs, safeguarding marginalized voices over other institutions. When other institutions falter, litigations concerned remain the judicial overreach, delays, and occasional reluctance to act decisively in political sensitive cases, like Ram Janambhoomi case. Strategic restraint and proactive intervention must be balanced. Ultimately, its credibility depends on impartiality, timely action, and commitment to consumer. So, yaar par jiji apni rohan hanibo lage apni ki constitutional prospect add koribo lage kori lebo moi thulmul ke apunak bostutu bujai dibo. Delimitation, ako bujai kotha asile to ahibo boli. Delimitation as outlined in Section 8A of RPA 1950 aims to adjust constituency boundaries based on population shifts to ensure fair representation. In the light of this, discuss how the delimitation process affects the political representation of indigenous communities in Assam. So, etu pohaisilu ami in length. In foundation. Moi pohaisilu in foundation and Gandhipeu pohaisile in his classes. Ami pohao eneke. I hope you are getting taught in the same way. Etu ma pohaisilu how the constituency gets divided. Etu ma foundation class of photo hoy. To moi aki pohaisilu. Etu 1971 at jodi 100 jon manu asile 2000 যদি মানুহটো বাঢ়ি গ'ল মানুহ একে আছে বাট ডিস্ট্ৰিবিউশনটো এনেকে হৈছে ইয়াত ইমান গ'ল তো বাউণ্ডাৰীজবোৰ কেনেকুৱা হ'ব এইবোৰতো বাৰু ফ্যাক্চুৱেল বস্তু পঢ়াই গৈছে সো how the delimitation actually is done how the boundaries are actually done আমি আঁকি বাকি বুজাইছিলো I still remember কি বস্তুটো অলপ কনফিউজিং আছিলে students আকৌ সুধিছিলে মই আকৌ আঁকি বাকি বুজাইছিলো so this is how you are supposed to learn I hope you are getting learned like that এইটো জ্ঞান দীপে নিজৰ পল পাৰ্টি এণ্ড ইলেকশ্যন প্ৰচেছত RPA 1950-51 বুজাইছিলে তাতো কলে ডিলিমিটেশ্যন বুজাইছিলে সো we have given the photo as well তাৰ ওপৰত আমাৰ ইণ্ডিয়ান পলিটি আমি এতিয়া ট্ৰাই কৰিছো আপোনালোকে আমাৰ ষ্টাডি মেটেৰিয়েলটো অলপ দেখক আৰু পাব্লিচিটি সো এই ষ্টাডি মেটেৰিয়েলৰ ফটোটো আমি দি দিছো য'ত আমি RPA কথা কৈছো ডিলিমিটেশ্যনৰ কথা কৈছো এইটো CA Main 365 কথা কৈছে য'ত ডিলিমিটেশ্যন ইন ইণ্ডিয়া বুলি আমি ডিটেইলছত বুজাই থৈছো CA Mains 365 Mains part 1 হয় এইটো তাৰ মানে এইটো কাৰেন্ট এফেয়াৰ্স মডিউলৰ পাৰ্ট হয় ওকে তো আমাৰ কাৰেন্ট এফেয়াৰ্স মডিউলৰ পাৰ্ট হয় যোনটোৰ এডমিশন চলি আছে so you think what are you going to take how are you going to study you think আপোনাৰ ওপৰত এৰি দিছো now আমাৰ explanation to পঢ়ি চাও delimitation under section 80 of RPA aims to draw boundaries based on population changes in Assam this exercise has significant implication for indigenous communities boundary adjustment can alter their demographic composition of constituencies sometimes diluting indigenous political influence especially in areas with high migration reserve seats for STs may shift impacting representation in traditionally indigenous dominated regions while delimitation seeks equitable representation, it can also reshape political power structures, leading to apprehensions among indigenous groups about marginalization. Ensuring their participation in the delimitation process, the balancing demographic realities with historical rights. Okay, I hope বুজি পাইছে number 4 question to asile Atal Amrit Abhiyan upor again this is a video of our YouTube channel this is Kaustav okay he's very methodical with what he teaches য'ত হি Atal Amrit Abhiyan আপোনালোকক পঢ়াইছে তো আমাৰ যেন ইউটিউব ভিডিঅ'বোৰ যায় ন সেই ইউটিউব ভিডিঅ'বোৰ আপোনালোকে কিন্তু ভালকে চাব মানে আমি আপোনালোকক ক্লিকবেটি ভিডিঅ' কম দি পঢ়াওনা ভিডিঅ' বেছি দিও because my concept is that ইউটিউবত যে আমি পঢ়াই আছো কাবাৰটো ইউজফুল হৈ আছে তো তাত মই ক্লিকবেটি ভিডিঅ' দিয়াতকে আপোনাৰ টাইম ওয়েস্ট কৰাতকে I should give something that actually helps you and আমি যেন টপিক সিলেক্ট কৰো সেই টপিকবোৰ actually very very important টপিক হয় লাগিলে আপোনাৰ women freedom fighter টপিকটো নহওক কিয় বা আমাৰ এটো এনেকুৱা লাইক ইউ নো আসাম গভৰ্নমেন্ট স্কিমছৰ টপিক নহওক কিয় সো এটো Atal Amrit Abhiyanটো অলৰেডি আমি আপোনালোকক ইউটিউবতে পঢ়াই দিছো I hope you would be able to understand and critically analyze বুলি কৈছে তাৰ মানে ফিচাৰবোৰ চাই লব তাৰপিছত নেগেটিভ এণ্ড পজিটিভ দুইটাই মেনশন কৰিব লাগিব ওকে So, Atal Amrit Abhiyanৰ ওপৰত আপুনি কি লিখিব পাৰিব ফিচাৰবোৰ লিখিব cancer kidney ailment heart disease schemes offer annual coverage of 2 lakh per individual এইবোৰ লিখিলে reduce the financial burden on poor households enabling access to tertiary care that was earlier unaffordable by empaneling both government and private hospitals expand treatment options however challenges include limited awareness delays in claims settlement and gap in infrastructure in rural area despite these issues scheme has played a crucial role so both positive and negative has to be done and finally apni nijor stand to lobo lagibo because apna koribo ki dise critically analyze okay so etui amar the most fame wala question most famous question because ami Gunotsav kotha hudisilu 3 bar jun amar free initiative onukhilonar part asile যোনটো পেপাৰ অলৰেডি অনুশীলন 3.0 যোৱাবাৰৰ কথা কোৱা নাই যোৱাবাৰ অনুশীলন পেইড আছিলে এবাৰ অনুশীলন আমি ফ্ৰী ৰাখিছিলো ফৰ দ্য বেনিফিট অফ অল কিডছ সো যোনটো অনুশীলন 3.0 আছিলে সেই অনুশীলন 3.0 ৰ যোনটো পেপাৰ আছে যোনটো মডেল আনসাৰ আছে সেইটো আপোনালোকৰ আমাৰ টেলিগ্ৰাম চেনেলত অলৰেডি अवेलेबल আছে সেই অনুশীলনৰ পেপাৰ কেখন কোনবাই কৰিলে তাৰ পৰা 8টা 9টা প্ৰশ্ন আপোনালোকৰ কমেন্ট আহি গৈছে এটো দিয়াত সুধিছোৱে I think অনুশীলনটো ইয়াত দিছো নেকি অনুশীলনটো ইয়াত দিয়া নাই but আপুনি চাই লব পাৰে তাত অনুশীলনটো প্ৰশ্ন সুধিছো যোনটো আমাৰ rank ready mains program হয় GS2 part 1 এটো first question asile evaluate the role of Assam's Gunotsav initiative in enhancing public school accountability and educational governance কি সুধিছে what are the main objectives of Gunotsav scheme how has it contributed to strengthening primary education এটো সুধিছো প্ৰথমবাৰ second বাৰ শুনিছো rank ready mains program GS5 ত একে অলপ দিনৰ পিছত how has introduction of Gunotsav improved the education landscape in Assam so Gunotsav opor ami hudisilu total 3 times আৰু 3 times সুধাৰ পিছত আমাৰতো ষ্টুডেণ্টছৰ মুখস্থ হৈ গৈছিলে মডেল আনসাৰ চাই সো গৈ পেলাই চিধা চিধি লিখি দিছে এণ্ড এইটো প্ৰশ্নক লৈ পেলাই চবে সুধিছে গুণোৎসৱক চাই আপোনালৈ মনত পৰিছে গুণোৎসৱক চাই আপোনালৈ মনত পৰিছে থেংক ইউ আমাক মনত পেলোৱাৰ কাৰণে this is just one of the 19 questions that had come from rank ready mains program and foundation of Sandpaper. Now answer to কি কৰিম আমি গুণোৎসৱৰ ফিচাৰবোৰ লিখিছো গুণোৎসৱৰ কাম কি হয় অবজেক্টিভ কি হয় to evaluate learning outcomes of students, to assess school infrastructure, co-scholastic activities, community participation, identifying gaps in teaching learning processes, ensure accountability of teachers, to involve both self-assessment and external evaluation, creating a culture of continuous improvement. It has led to better monitoring of schools, improved teacher performance, and focused remedial measures. Student learning levels have improved through targeted interventions and community involvement have increased due to participatory approach. Overall, Gunotsav has strengthened primary education by institutionalizing quality assurance at একদম limited কে আপোনাক লিখি দিছো I hope ইয়াতকে আপুনি বেছি লিখিছে BRICS তো বাৰু I think সবে পঢ়াইছে নাই পঢ়া যদি mentor change কৰি দিজিয়ে discuss the importance of BRICS as an economic bloc BRICS ৰ ওপৰত আমি details already this is a part of our কিবা দে international relation আমি যোৱাই নাই this is a part of our mains current affairs module this is the part of our mains current affairs module BRICS আমি already আপোনাক পঢ়াইছো significance for India and all পঢ়াইছো so পাৰিয়ে যাব হেবো BRICS ৰ ওপৰত আমি লিখিছে BRICS কি ক'ত কিয় বিখ্যাত আপুনি লিখিছে চাগে represents emerging economies accounting for 40% of the world population and a quarter of the global GDP. As an economic bloc, it provides platform for South-South cooperation, promoting trade, investment, and development without over-reliance on Western institutions. The establishment of the new development bank and the contingent reserve arrangement provides alternative financial mechanism. Current affairs class আৰু also herit current affairs class নহয় আমাৰ international relation class আমি কৈছিলো কি how the US stopped giving money, China came in front, now what is going to happen, new development bank, Asian development bank, all these things we learned very details mein. BRICS promotes reforms in global governance institutions like IMF and World Bank, advocating for greater representation of developing countries. It also enhances intra-BRICS cooperation in energy, health, technology, and infrastructure. Despite differences, BRICS has emerged as significant. All these things I hope you have written. Question number 7, আকৌ international relation. এইটো বাৰু পঢ়োৱা ভিতৰতে আহিব লাগে তো পঢ়িছে জাগে international relation সবে. What is string of pearls? How does its strategy challenge India's maritime sector? So yeah, India's kiba to counter China's string of pearls. This is Gyandeep. Like I said, GS3 and GS2. That hero teacher হিচাপে জ্ঞানদীপে আহিছে আজি ফাউণ্ডেশ্যনৰ বাচ্চাবোৰো কৈ আছিলে কি এইটো আহিব বুলি কৈছে আৰু হেতুৱে আহিছে. So this is how things are working in Sandpaper. So string of pearls poise to string of pearls aki poise and I think these are two different classes because duta kiba korise duta class loisile niki China aru Pakistan duitai belag belag ke pohaisile jehetu maritime policy pohaise etu gyandipe hoy baru free and open in Pacific se is given alag alag shirt mein hai ki mane dono shirt mein hai so he has taught 2 classes and it has come from both the classes plus CA365 to ami already pohaisu apnalokok etu string of pearls kotha plus question o ami korisu with Nepal and Bangladesh seeking deeper ties with China, how can India assert regional leadership without coercion? So, string of pearls strategy refers to China's development of a network of commercial and military facilities along the Indian Ocean to secure its trade routes and power project. Key pearls include ports of Gwadar, Hambantota, Chittagong, and facility in Myanmar and Maldives. This strategy challenges India's maritime security in multiple ways, enhances China's naval reach close to India's strategic waters, potentially encircling India's geographically. It can be used for military logistics, surveillance, and rapid deployment for conflict scenarios. India's energy supply route threatened during crisis. In response, India has strengthened ties with littoral state, enhanced naval capabilities, pursued initiatives like Sagar and port cooperation, etc. So, question to us is how has the Beti Bachao Beti Padhao scheme led to the well-being and empowerment of girl child in India? To apnaloke sage pari se ami pohaisu ya Beti Bachao Beti Padhao upor ami pohaisu. This is a part of our I think CA365 or amar etu kon hoy. So etu to current affairs based hoy apnaloke parise boli akhao korisu. So Beti Bachao Beti Padhao aims to address last opinion ki hoise ami apnak source bor komai disu ha because নহলে মোৰ source দেখাওতে মোৰ কিবা বহুত হৈ যায়. Because source ami আপোনাক multiple angle of দিব para eta situation eta asu so ki hoise shortcut korisu so that apnar video to besi lamba hoy na jay so Beti Bachao Beti Padhao aims to address declining child sex ratio and promote education and empowerment of the girl child. Its objectives include preventing gender biased selection, ensuring girl child survival, protecting rights, and promoting education. Scheme has raised nationwide awareness through mass campaign, improved monitoring of sex ratio at birth, and strengthened implementation of PCPNDT Act. It has led to increased enrollment and retention of girls in schools, improve access to schemes like Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana, and encourage community involvement. Though implementation varies across states, our Beti Bachao Beti Padhao has contributed in shifting social attitude, well-being, and empowerment of girls in India. 9. What are the focus areas of Digital India? Discuss the important provisions of Common Service Center. So, Digital India, Common Service Center, BSNL Data Center, significance of digital infrastructure in Digital India, details of so plus. Digital India पर straight question होती है. Let me change the pen. नहीं तो दिखेगा नहीं. The same question number 5. Straight question. Straight question. In what ways Aadhaar integration and Digital India initiatives reshape welfare scheme delivery mechanism? So এই বস্তুবোৰ যেতিয়া আপুনি এটো combine কৰি দিয়ে এটো তাৰো লিখিব নোৱাৰা বস্তু একো নাই কিয়া. So Digital India আহিব বুলিও আমি জানিছিলো उसके ऊपर पढ़ाया भी है तो CA365 और I think sheet হয়. Significance is related to 3A665 mains or CA365 mains or apna kohalu onukilono to apnalok kudilu plus governance or gyan dibe pohaise governance or gyan dibe pohaise in details je about Digital India that's what about amar kiba CSE center ebu bostu ekdam details or all these things she has taught in governance which like aram se you would be able to kiba answer. So Digital India focuses on transforming India into digitally empowered society. Focus areas are digital infrastructure as a core utility, governance and services on demand, broadband digital identity, governance online delivery, digital empowerment of citizens, digital literacy and access. CSE 2.0, that is Common Service Center to all Gram Panchayat, acting in access to the e-governance services. Provisions include financial suitability through service diversification, enabling service of B2C, G2C services, and integrating services like banking, education, health, and insurance. Last mile service delivery, so on and so forth. I think ekini apne likhibole parise. Question number 10. This was a googly. This was a googly, but हमने पढ़ाया था. We taught it. We knew that कुछ भी आ सकता है. कथा तो एनुका होइसे. Now the level of APSC is no very low than UPSC. Okay. এটা যদি আপোনালোকে ভাবি আছে কি দুটা বস্তু হৈ আছে. এটা বস্তু হৈছে কি UPSC পঢ়িলে APSC নহব. প্ৰবলেমটো এনেকুৱা হৈ আছে কি প্ৰতিটো পেপাৰত অলমোস্ট প্ৰতিটো কোৱেশ্চনৰে এটা আসাম বেসড এংগল আছে. হেকেনে মই কওঁ কি আসাম মডিউল এতিয়া নাইকিয়া. আৰু এটো হৈছে কি আসাম বেসডৰ যোনবোৰ কোৱেশ্চন আছে সেই কোৱেশ্চনবোৰো আপুনি টাফনেছৰ লেভেলটো হাই হৈ গৈ আছে because students are becoming smarter day by day. Kind of mentorship that are getting provided is improving day by day. So, enukwa type of googly prashnobor ahibo boli ami to ready asilo because we knew their level will only keep on increasing day after another. So, apnalage jodi lifetime access or pisot polai ase, if you are running after lifetime access aru purona bostu ke apni bare pohi ase, tetia hole buji lok ki eta jontu postu apni pohi ase he pohatu bostu tur pa high level or question APSC khuda arambho kori dise. So, you will have to up your game now. আপুনি নিজৰ কন্টেন্ট এনৰিচমেন্ট কৰিবই লাগিব আপুনি যি পুৰণা ক্লাস পঢ়ি আছে because you have an access to it doesn't mean যে আপুনি পঢ়ি থকা বস্তুৰ access থাকা মানে যে হেখিনি relevant হৈ আছে নে নাই হেতু চেক কৰি চাব because what I have understood the level of APSC which is going day after another year after year पुरानी चीजें पढ़ने से अभी नहीं होगा. So lifetime access के चक्कर से निकलिए एतो আগৰ পৰা মই কৈছো this is a trap. Lifetime access ৰ চক্কৰৰ পৰা ওলাও क्योंकि আপুনি নিজে পুৰণা বস্তু পঢ়ি পুৰণা চক্ৰতে ফসি গৈ আছে. So what we taught here, the civil servants are dedicated by the rules and procedures, examine the statement in the light of civil service. It again say by civil service and we gave in details. We gave in details. Right of civil servant boli eto amar study model jonto ami kiba mains crash course or disila aru kiba eto paise foundation eto paise. So আমি details দিলো কি right কি আছে, right to strike, political rights, social rights, so details may give it. Also discuss the role of compassion and emotional intelligence. It will remain relevant নহয়. I don't know how did it come here, but this is the relevant part of it. Okay. Explanation. Civil service in India operate with a rule-bound administration framework, ensuring neutrality, consistency, and accountability. They are governed by service rules, conduct rules, and disciplinary procedures which dictate their actions. This often limits discretion, requires adherence to procedures, ensuring that governance remain objective and transparent. However, civil servants do enjoy certain rights, such as constitutional protection under Article 311, right to representation, fair disciplinary process, protection for arbitrary removal, service association and grievance redressal mechanism safeguard their professional interest. Challenge lies in maintaining strict adherence to rule with the need of innovation and responsive governance over bureaucratization. Can stifle initiative, but can robust right framework ensure independence and security. So, it are me details or apnaloko pohaisilo. Question number 11. The doctrine of the basic structure safeguards the spirit of the constitution against the majoritarian impulses in India. Examine the role of judiciary in evolving the doctrine of basic structure of the Indian constitution. So, who is a basic structure doctrine or evolution? Okay. Who is the basic question? So, I mean, dubar okay. At a basic direct than the other. Junto amar Sandpaper or Mains test series test 3 GS2. That I question explain how the basic structure doctrine has maintained the balance between rigidity and flexibility of the Indian constitution. Actually, I mean, Juabar Onukilan basic structure Hudisilu, Ebaro Hudiso, Povato Porhaiswe. A2 whole Onukilan 4.0 and look at the directness of the question. Yatke basic direct, trace the evolution of the basic structure doctrine and explain its contemporary significance in safeguarding the constitution. So, yate ki hudi say evolution, ami ki hudi so evolution. So, those of you who had appeared on Onukilan 4.0, a Onukilan or Prasna keta korile, hatatta question ene parigon hoy. So, that was the importance of all the question papers that are being taught on all the programs and modules that are being brought by Sandpaper. So, eto ami hudilu, evolution or kotha hudisu. So, explanation sabo jao etia. So, judicial evolution of Katha Jadi Ami Koboja of the doctrine. So, Shankari Prasado Kathami Kobolagibo, Sajjan Singh Kisokathami Kobolagibo, Tasanami Golaknath Kisokatha Kobolagibo, Keshwananda Bharti Kisokatha Kobolagibo, obviously. Tarpisarami Indira Gandhi versus Raj Narayana, Minerva Mills Kisokatha Kobolagibo. So, a Gute Gita Jungita case Hoisile, very like, Bagha case of Supreme Court. A Gute Gita case Milai Pelai, finally, Juntu Ami Aji report basic structure doctrine Dakapa. Hetu basic structure doctrine ami roop to paiso. So our upar judiciary strategic role upar to amar question hudi se. So we will have to tell how judiciary has positioned itself as the ultimate guardian of the constitution, checking the majoritarian impulses of the legislature by invoking the doctrine. It has protected democratic principles during periods of political stress, ensuring continuity of constitutional values. Episode question number this, Baro. Critically analyze the effectiveness of Finance Commission in promoting financial equity and strengthening financial relations amongst center, state and local bodies. So, A2 Gandipe Pohaisile. So, that Finance Commission to foundation or Gandipe Pohaisile. Aru mains crash course of moi. So, A2 function or Jundu Kotha Kose, allocation of resource, fiscal federalism, maybe so Pohaise in foundation. And again, this is another question from Onukilan 4.0 that I mean very straightforwardly hudisu. How does the Assam State Finance Commission support fiscal decentralization? Yet ki hudi say fiscal equity and strengthening financial relationship among center, state and local body. Fiscal decentralization. So fiscal decentralization and why is it timely constitution vital? Ami etu amar kibatu asile. This is also a part of our CA 365. CA 365 to ami State Finance Commission kotha bahut details of koisu mains crash course to court kiman paisa invest hoise he number to lage di dia hoise. So this is what was taught by us. You had to tell about the role in promoting fiscal equity. Vertical evolution of where Finance Commission recommends the share of state in divisible pool to reduce fiscal imbalance between center and state. Horizontal devolution of allocation among states based on criteria like population, income, distance, forest cover, etc. During our vertical devolution, different levels of government of Kuatu. Aru horizontal devolution mane ki same level or beleg type or organ of bosutu dia posatu dia. Local body empowerment granting aid eduta bikhoy apnalake kobo lagibo je how grant based incentivization hoise according to Finance Commission, and also local body empowerment okane since the 73rd and 74th constitution amendment je to amar panchayati raj aru ULB bur ase teonukoru paisa dia kotha kobo lagibo. Critical evaluation, limited enforcement, inadequate for changing realities, GST impact, overlap with other institutions. Given paisa dise, given paisa no hoige, basic hobo lage. Given paisa, this is actually one of the biggest criticism ki jehetu parallel powers only ase. So the state sometimes does not want to devolve its financial power to the ULBs and the municipalities. Tarpor limited enforcement, changing reality karone hetu paisa to kom, GST impact, eglak apni likhibo lagisile. Again. To what extent the National Green Tribunal, NGT, has succeeded in ensuring environmental justice in India? Environmental justice. This is the key word, okay? Environmental justice. How does its functioning reflect the tensions among ecological sustainability, economic development, and democratic accountability? So, it whole amar rank rating mains program or GS3 part 2. So, that ami hudisu question number 18. The NGT has intervened in several environmentally critical matters in Assam, like illegal coal mining in Meghalaya, oil well blowouts in Bagjan, and encroachment in ecologically sensitive zone. In this context, explain biases the role of NGT in ensuring environmental justice. Amar keyword to ki asile? Environmental justice. In Assam, what challenges limit its effectiveness? Police ki, how does its functioning reflect the tension among ecological suitability and environmental justice? Kitna hi same aayega? In fact, our question was a tad bit tougher. Ami Bagjan aru illegal coal mining of tar logot link kori pele student hokolok disilo. So a tad bit tougher ami udisu. But etu jodi apni likhi jay. If you are writing this question in your exam, then you get this. Obviously, it will become a tad bit easier for you to attempt. Aru apni man scary feel no kore he paper kon. Hence, mocks are supremely important. Aru jor tor mock no hoy. What kind of mocks you are giving, you find out. যদি আপনার মকে এনেই ইয়াৰ লগত মিলা কোনো ধৰণৰ প্ৰশ্ন সোধা নাই, then that is not the kind of mock that you want to appear. So be very, very careful where you are practicing, how you are practicing, and what kind of question you are practicing. আপনি এক্সপ্লেনেশনত কি লিখিব লাগিছিলে? এক্সপ্লেনেশনত আপনি লিখিব লাগিছিলে সাকসেস ইন এনশিওরিং এনভায়রনমেন্টাল জাস্টিস। ফার্স্টে হে পার্টটো এক্সপ্লেইন কৰিব লাগিব যে স্পিডি এন্ড স্পেশালাইজড এডুকেশন কৰে এনজিটিএ, ফাস্ট এন্ড ৰেগুলাৰ কোর্স, টাইমলি এনভায়রনমেন্টাল প্ৰটেকশন, landmark judgment কিছুমান দিছে যেনেকৈ Yamuna flood plain or encroachment, illegal mining, waste management এইবিলাকৰ ওপৰত judgment দিছে। Precautionary and polluted principle, এই polluted principle to strictly implement কৰিছে NGTA, যোনটো বেলেগে এতিয়ালৈকে কৰা নাছিলে। Access to justice, deterrence effect, যে heavy penalty and project hall কৰি দিলে ইন্ডাষ্ট্ৰীবোৰ compel হৈ যায় to adopt better compliance। Tension and limitation, ecology versus economy, এটোতো obviously থাকিবই, হেতু ওপৰতে প্ৰশ্ন কৰিছে। The strict NGT orders often clash with economic projects. তাৰপিছত আপুনি অসমৰ এক্সাম্পল কিছুমানো দি দিব লাগিব। Given forester example di dile. Example, infrastructure and mining, implementation gap, orders are sometimes poorly enforced by state pollution control boards and democratic accountability. Critics argue NGT sometimes bypasses elected bodies. Okay? Now, etu baru sobe pohise, I think. What is the sixth schedule of the Indian Constitution? Reflect the role of the governor in areas of sixth schedule. Etu almost sobe pohise. Etu quite simple question asile. Very simple. খালি ইয়াত এটাই ক্যাচ আছিলে আৰু সেই ক্যাচটো আমি নিজৰ কাৰেন্ট এফেয়াৰ্ছত পঢ়াইছিলো। এয়া আমাৰ ফাউন্ডেশনৰ ক্লাছ, য'ত জ্ঞানদীপে পঢ়াইছিলে সিক্স শেডিউলটো, মই পঢ়োৱা নাছিলো হয়তো। সিক্স শেডিউল ইন দ্য ইণ্ডিয়ান কনষ্টিটিউশ্যন, we have divided the parts amongst us. So সিক্স শেডিউল of the Indian Constitution ৰ ওপৰত যোনটো কুৱেশ্যন আছে এইটো অলমোষ্ট সবেই জানে। আমি কুৱেশ্যনো সুধিছিলো, লিমিটেশন এন্ড পাৱাৰ্স অফ প্ৰেসিডেন্ট এন্ড গভর্নর, রিসেন্ট जुडिशियल इंटरप्रिटेशन एंड कंट्रोवर्सी, क्योंकि हमें पता था कि गवर्नर तो आएगा, गवर्नर विल कम। কি টাইপ কে আহে হেতু নাজানো, কিন্তু গভর্নর আহিব বাস অলমোস্ট শিওর, বিকজ ইমান কন্ট্রোভার্সি হল ন গভর্নর লৈ পেলাই। তাৰ পিছত এইটো হল দ্য ক্যাচ, এমেন্ডমেন্ট বিলস টু 7 অটোনমাস কাউন্সিল, এটা স্পেশাল এমেন্ডমেন্ট আহিছিলে ইন 2025, যে আসাম লেজিসলেটিভ এসেম্বলি এটা এমেন্ডমেন্ট বিল পাস কৰিছিলে which allows the governor to take over the functioning of the 7 autonomous council. বড়ো, তিৱা, ৰাভা, মিচিং, ৰাভা, আসং সব মিলাই পেলাই আৰু 7টা অটোনমাস কাউন্সিলৰ ওপৰত এটা এমেন্ডমেন্ট আনিছিলে কি তাত যদি টাইমলি ইলেকশন নহয়, so the governor will take over the term, মানে take over the jurisdiction of it. তো সেই বস্তুটো এটা ভেরি নিউ এমেন্ডমেন্ট আছিলে। আৰু যেহেতু সিক্স শেডিউলৰ কথা সুধিছে, ইট ইজ এক্সপেক্টেড যে আপুনি এই বস্তুটো মেনশন কৰিছে। দিস ওয়াজ দ্য সেন্টার কোর ফৰ ইট। যেনেকে আমাৰ যোনটো কিবাটো সুধিছে ন, ট্ৰিপছৰ কুৱেশ্যনটো আছিলে, আৰু আমাৰ হেৰিটেজ প্ৰটেকশ্যনৰ আমি কি চেলেঞ্জ পাইছো বুলি সুধিছিলে। সো সেইটো ওপৰতহে সেইটো প্ৰশ্ন, তাৰ চেণ্টাৰত আছিলে কোলহাপুৰী চেপল কন্ট্ৰভাৰ্সি। তো এই প্ৰশ্নটো ওপৰতহে গভৰ্ণৰৰ প্ৰশ্ন, কিন্তু তাৰ চেণ্টাৰত আছিলে দিস এমেন্ডমেন্ট বিল টু 7 অটোনমাস কাউন্সিলস। আই হোপ ইউ হেভ মেনশন এবাউট ইট। তাৰপিছত আমি ডেইলি আনসাৰ ৰাইটিঙতো সুধিছিলো যে সিক্স শেডিউল ল্যান্ডস্কেপ, আসাম কারেন্ট সোশ্যাল পলিটিক্যাল অটোনমাস ডিস্ট্রিক্টৰ কি এসপিৰেশন আছে। সো সিক্স শেডিউলৰ ওপৰত কাফি বি আস্ক কোৱেশ্যন, এণ্ড দিস ইজ দ্য পাৰ্ট অফ CA 365 মেইনছ। তো আমাৰ যোনটো CA মডিউল আছিলে, সেই CA মডিউলটোৰে এইটো হয় পাৰ্ট। ওকে, explanation কি লিখিব লাগিব? features of the sixth schedule আপনি লিখিলে, creation of autonomous district regional council with what legislative, executive and judicial power or subjects. Council can make laws to subject it to the government's assent. Separate financial arrangements including granting aid, tribal customary law বিলাক protect কৰে, তাৰ according কিছুমান rule বনোৱা হয়। Role of the government, আপনি legislative assent কথা ক'লে যে যোনবোৰ বনায় council তাৰ final assent still governor দিব লাগে। Boundary and structure determines district boundary, formation of regional council. Supervisory power can suspend or dissolve council in case of failure. Regulatory power approves rules made by council, ensures harmony and discretionary role of autonomy. Likhibo lagibo. So this is one question. যেটা আমি 19 out of 20 বুলি কৈছো. So this 19 question or a one question to 8 way hoy. This is one question which was not not taught by us. Ar amar current affairs to tat hedu napalo. We will try to do better the next time. So amar jintu state action plan for climate change hoy, SAPCC. Hetu main objective ki hoy? Mainstream climate concern, enhance adaptive capacity of vulnerable communities, promoting low carbon growth and sustainable development, conserving ecosystem critical to climate regulation, strengthening institutional framework for coordination and knowledge sharing, develop early warning system and strengthen disaster management. Key vulnerable sectors: water resource, agriculture, forest and biodiversity, health, human settlement, energy, transport, livelihood. এতিয়া question number 16. So again, tea hawk, tourism hawk, এইবিলাক যে আহিব, এইবোৰ অলপমান মই কৈছো নহয়, পেপাৰ সেট কৰাটোতো এটা এপ্টিটিউড থাকে। পেপাৰ অকল appear কৰাটোৱে নহয়, সেট কৰাটোতো এটা এপ্টিটিউড থাকে। সো সেইকাৰণে বি ভেৰি কেয়াৰফুল where are you giving mock। যেনেকে চাব, কিছুমান ল'ৰা ছোৱালীয়ে প্ৰিলিমছত বহুত ভাল স্কোৰ কৰে, লাইক 111, 112 এনেকেই মাৰ্কস পায়, লাগিলে তাতে পঢ়িছে নে নাই পঢ়া। দিস ইজ বিকজ those students have the aptitude মানে কি innate ability of solving those PYQs. So কিছুমান পেপাৰ সেটিংৰো এবিলিটি থাকে, এমসিকিউ সেটিংৰো এবিলিটি থাকে। সেই এবিলিটিটো কোন কোন ইনষ্টিটিউচনে আপোনাক প্ৰভাইড কৰিছে, কুৱেশ্যনৰ কোৱালিটি কেনেকুৱা, সেইটো আপুনি চাই ল'ব। ইয়েছ, আমাৰ এই বছৰ মানুহে বেলেগ ইনষ্টিটিউচনে পাইৰেট কৰিবলৈও ট্ৰাই কৰিছিলে, বিকজ দিছ এপ্টিটিউড ডাজ এক্সিষ্ট। কিন্তু কথাটো এটাই কি ইউ কেন পাইৰেট অল ইট আউট, কিন্তু ধৰাটো পৰিবই ন। তো বি টুক লিগেল steps against the piracy. So be very, very sure of where are you spending your time. If you're spending your time unnecessarily, especially mains or agot, it is going to be very difficult for you, because mains or agot you need to, like, every minute has to be very carefully invested. So kusman institution or innate aptitude better thake of setting such paper. We have been doing this for past 6 years, so be very careful in choosing your partner. Okay, partner in your journey of APSC. Now, despite tea being a major plantation industry in India, tea estates are in a deplorable condition. Evaluate the effectiveness of government policies and intervention of the improvement of the Assam tea estate worker. So, tea industry, although iman dangor hoy, tathapiu tea estate worker bilakor deplorable condition hoy, kyo? Because government policy bilakor effectiveness beya. Heitue proshno hudise aru hitu evaluate koribo dise. So, আমি এডুকেশনৰ ওপৰত এটা স্পেশাল প্ৰশ্ন কৰিছো, and this is a direct question, যোনটো আমি GS1 part 3 ধৰিছিলো। So, GS2 part 1 এটা প্ৰশ্ন আহিছিলে যে examine the challenges in implementing education reform in Assam's tea garden and source sapori areas concerning equity and access. ঠিক আছে? Look at this question. Discuss the socio-economic challenges faced by tea tribe community despite targeted policy intervention in recent years. কি সুধিছে যে বহুতবোৰ গভৰ্ণমেণ্ট পলিচি আছে, তথাপিও সোশিও ইকোনমিক চ্যালেঞ্জ কিয় ফেস কৰি আছে টি টাইপ কমিউনিটিয়ে। Assam tea estate workers who by default, most of them by default belong to the tea tribe communities. So yakke aur kitna hi direct will ask. So we understood that there are only two dimensions to it, and we asked both dimensions. Juntu pori gole apni aram se question number 16 to pai rahete. Also, another one, Assam tea mini test series or GS5. The Assam tea industry faces challenges such as declining productivity, climate changes, and labor unrest. Critically analyze potential reforms and innovation in cultivation, marketing, and labor welfare. So again, we asked thrice. In fact, amar etu mains daily answer writing kiba hoy. Daily answer writing to ami hudisu about tea industry challenges says today discuss challenge. Alop simple hudu ami daily answer writing on. So 3-4 times apni tea upor proshno likhite goise directly on the welfare of the tea community, on the effectiveness of the program, the policy intervention hua pisot ami kyo para nai. So tar pisot apni ei question number 16 to koribole even difficulty pabo nelage. Government policy and intervention. Plantation Labor Act 1951 mandates housing, healthcare, education, sanitation, and welfare measures. Assam Tea Tribe Welfare Department implements targeted welfare schemes, scholarship, and tea skill program. Assam Tea Garden Worker Social Assistance Scheme provides financial aid to worker and dependent. Wage hike and labor code, periodic wage revision and attempt to formalize benefits, PM Awas Yojana, and health interventions. It will baru gome pai. Evaluation to ami koribo lagibo je implementation or gap hoise niki, wage cost imbalance hoise niki, limited social mobility, and recent reform je positive step hoise with limited coverage and bureaucratic delays persist. Question number 17. Again, this is something that I think everybody has, any serious student has studied, which is FCRA. Okay. So FCRA candidate to pohaisile. This is a kiba of I think it he internet security te pohaisile ne governance of pohaisile governance. This is a photo of governance. Yes. So it foreign contribution regulation act FCRA aram se pohaise, provision pohaise. So ei pohile to apnaloke paribo. Kisuman enuka slide ase je etu side ile apnaloke answer likhibo paribo. Plus kisuman context ahisile se FCRA regulation kisuman change hoise about NGOs. So hetu bostu ami nijor CA 365 on already diso in current affairs module. Explanation ki dibo, prohibition on some granting NGOs receiving foreign grant cannot transfer it to some other organization. Mandatory FCRA account, all foreign contribution must be received in a single SBI New Delhi branch account. It logai dise. Reduce administration cap. Administrative expenditure reduced from 50% to 20% of foreign funds. Aadhaar requirement korise, office bearer, director, key functionary, suspension and cancellation power, expanded government powers to suspend or cancel FCRA certificates. Implication ki dise of industry and development. Greater compliance promotes financial accountability, which can indirectly benefit industry through transparent partnership. Impact on CSR and collaboration, reduce flexibility and investor confidence. Again, question number 18. They discuss the implication of political turmoil in Bangladesh on India's foreign policy. So, देखने में simple है, but you need good idea about your Indo-Bangladesh foreign policy. You need good idea about Indo-Bangladesh intrinsic foreign policy. And then তাৰ ওপৰত আপুনি জানিব লাগিব the current political turmoil. খালি current political turmoil জানিবলৈ নহব। আপুনি turmoilৰ আগৰ যোনটো ৰিষ্টা আছিলে, সেই ৰিষ্টাটোৰ বিষয়েও আপুনি জানিব লাগিব। সেই ৰিষ্টাটোৰ বিষয়টো আমি বাৰু international relation ক্লাছত পঢ়াইছো, আপোনালোকৰ কিবাটো আছিলে, আপোনালোকৰ CA 365 তো আছিলে মেইনছৰ। তাৰ ওপৰত যোনবোৰ আমাৰ কিবা আছে, যোনবোৰ আমাৰ current affairs happening আছে, যেনেকৈ UNESCO resolving issues over Teesta water sharing treaty with India, plus Hindus upon atrocity. All these things, how they are affecting their foreign policy of India and Bangladesh, the relationship between India and Bangladesh, hetu report apuni egita matters of tani pela answer to likhibole expectation to asile. Implication ki hoy? Border security and migration. Political unrest may trigger cross-border migration security concern over 4,000 kilometers. Etu political unrest or agote amar issue asile, hekane mo koso ki juntu original Indo-Bangladesh relationship hoy, hey original Indo-Bangladesh relationship to apni janibo lagibo. Tate apni etu gom pabo je border security and migration problem ase. Political unrest to episode, hey border security and migration problem to bahi jabo, and our foreign policy will become stricter in closing our boundaries towards Bangladesh. Counter-terrorism, instability can create space for extremist groups challenging India's internal security, especially in the northeast. Economic relation, India-Bangladesh trade connectivity projects may face delay or renegotiations. Hoise ho etu mala Kaladan multimodal project or uporat kafi strain ahi gosile. Plus, we were about to have a straight route to one of the very important ports of Bangladesh. Tar etia upot stall ahi gose. So a lot of things are happening. Geopolitical competition, turmoil could open doors for greater Chinese influence. Suspicion to ase je Chinese influence by Pakistan influence ate halla to hoise. Itya, as the leadership was sitting there already have an anti-India stance, itya etu Chinese influence okane rasta khuli dise, altering regional power dynamics. Diplomatic imbalance may lead to recalibrated relation depending on regime changes and border negotiations. Question number 19, BIMSTEC. So BIMSTEC of BRICS of G20, G7 ebu to apni pohise boli mo expectation rakhiso. Etu amar kibat asile CA 365 mains edition or etu ami details of this way. What is BIMSTEC? How is it? Explain the significance. Etu significance to India ami likhe to tar pisot bahut dangor kiba hoy. So ya tolot India, Northeast Assam sab हमने लिखी दिया था. So आराम से अपनी CA module पहिले you would have been able to answer this BIMSTEC part. So BIMSTEC ot apnar pra ki huda expected ki likha expectation asile je apni connectivity projects bilakor kotha kobo, enhances road, port, digital linkage across Bay of Bengal, trade facilitation or kotha kobo, je free trade agreement or kotha solise, investment flow, economic integration, energy and transport plans for energy grid connectiveness, multimodal transport corridor, security cooperation, people to people contact. Amar significance kyo? Gateway role hoy, we are the bridge to the Southeast Asia under Act East policy. Infrastructure boost projects like Kaladan and Trilateral Highway will improve connectivity, which has a lot of countries involved in BIMSTEC. Trade expansion opens new market for agriculture, handicraft services, etc. Tourism and investment enhances regional tourism circuit and stability and development. Regional integration can reduce isolation and spur economic growth in the region. Last thought, question number 20. Analyze the main factors shaping relation between India and European Union. So India-Europe relationship apni IR to pohise. Itya moi koise na we are trying je ami class of durat amar materials aru modules aru amar crash course ki korise ami hetuke dekhwa to basic prefer korise so that you understand ki jetya crash course ba CA module ba rank ready mains program answer writing series ote a performance to par foundation khini ki gain kori ase hetu apni analyze kori lobo. So CA mains edition junto hoy tatte ami aramot obviously India Europe relationship pohaisilu. European relation or kotha koso how it's the largest trading area for a major source of foreign, all these things we already taught. So main factors are trade and investment. EU is one of the largest trading partners in investment negotiation and FTA solely ase. Geopolitical alignment, cooperation in Indo-Pacific, multilateralism, climate change and rule-based order. technology and innovation, collaboration and digital transformation, human right and governance, strategic convergence, and people-to-people ties. These are the most important things that we could have mentioned. Body bure likhi goise de intro, conclusion, agbag ji so diagram ase ebo apnaloke nije koribo boli mo expectation rakhi asu. Done. এতিয়া আমি চাম কি how GS3 came to be. 17 out of 20 questions আমাৰ GS3 পা আহিছে precisely গোটে কৈ দিব পাৰো কি যোনবোৰ কনসেপ্ট প্ৰিলিমছৰ পৰা মেইনছৰ appear কৰিছে আমি হেবোৰ ডিটেইলছত পঢ়োৱা নাই so we have considered those questions to not being from us. Although prelims যেতিয়া dark oxygen question to আহিছিলে DO2 নহয় বাৰু dark oxygen যোনটো question আহিছিলে আৰু যোনটো micro RNA question আছিলে হেতু আমাৰ MCQ পা কমন পৰিছিলে বা যেহেতু এটো মেইনছ হয় আৰু আমি এটো ডিটেইলছত পঢ়োৱা হোৱা নাই so we are not considering it to be from us. Okay, so eto amar question paper dekhise gom paise. So let us now see ki question paper or question bor kenekwa ke ahisile. Jun number 1 question asile define inclusive growth. Discuss the major challenges and government initiatives aimed at achieving inclusive growth in India. So inclusive growth or uporat ami question hudisu dubar. This is more direct than this kintu ami chronologically goisilu ekarne. So rank ready mains program or GS paper 5 ot ami directly hudisilu. Discuss the major development initiative and economic support measures introduced in Assam budget. How do they aim to foster inclusive growth? How do they aim to foster inclusive growth? So yat jonto India boli koise ami eto Assam budget related hudisilu so we made it even actually tougher. Aru yat hudise inclusive growth in terms of India. Aru eta question ami hudisilu GS3 part 1 ot je how can the centers focus on mineral and coal resource development in Northeast India contribute to economic growth and employment generation, inclusive economic growth and employment generation in states like Assam. So tar upor jonto amar inclusive growth or topic hoy he inclusive growth or topic to amar pohua goisile bishtiye pohaisile etu amar social justice and social justice or class or etu social justice or class or etu photo hoy je bishtiye pohaisile. So inclusive growth hoy ki refers to economic growth that is broad-based, equitable and benefits all sections of society. Especially marginalized group focuses on creating jobs, reducing poverty, ensuring access to health and opportunities and education. Initiative ki ase Manrega, Jandhan, Skill India, Startup India, PMAY, Targeted Welfare Scheme for STSC, OBC. Challenges ki hoy regional imbalances, infrastructure gap, informal sector dominance, climate vulnerability. Government effort ki ami dekha paiso digital governance, DBT, targeted subsidy, rural infrastructure, social security reforms, etc. So enokwa eta scheme or report question ahise ebar Prime Minister Krishi Sinchai Yojana and the concept of per drop more crop. Eto actually per drop more crop to ajir kotha nohoy to bahut amar time opor ami per drop more crop or kotha hudi asu ami Israel pa keneke hikisilo all that we learned it from 9 years ago. So itia watershed yatra campaign ot ami dunia ke Krishi Sinchai Yojana kotha pohaisilu yate ami the primary component of watershed development which is Prime Minister Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana pohaisu. This is from CA 365. Again this is from CA 365 yate ami Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana already pohaisilu. So Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana eta amar CA module or kiba de etu amar CA module or compilation. This is a compilation of a CA module. So objective of Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana expand cultivable area under assured irrigation, improve on-farm water use efficiency, reduce water wastage, promote precision irrigation technologies. So a precision irrigation or per drop more crop to ami foundation to pohaisu. Ami eto foundation to pohaisu photo to miss hoi gol but ami eto foundation to pohaisu eto nishan te pohaise. Components accelerated irrigation benefit program, fast track major projects, Har Khet Ko Pani, per drop more crop, watershed development, soil moisture conservation and harvesting. Per drop more crop ki kore encourages efficient water use through drip and sprinkler irrigation, fertigation and sensor based system, reduces water loss, increases productivity, lowers input cost, etc. Ita number 3 ahise why did Myanmar become a sanctuary for insurgent group for Northeast India? How does China Belt and Road Initiative affect Indian security? So dekhat enekwa feeling ahibo pare ki those are two different things but jetia apni internal security pohibo you will realize ki both of them are extremely deeply connected. So India Myanmar relation or etu eta kebata enekwa slide apnak dekwa goise jor apni guti answer likhi dibo paribo. So India Myanmar or jetia issues ami pohisilu etu gyandipe pohaisil internal security tar organized crimes, porous border, trade deficit, interest amar insurgency aru Belt and Road Initiative eketa line ami pohisilu. Plus amar etu to amar mains crash course or study material hoy ki ami ki dhorone porous border, illegal activity like smuggling, influx of people from Myanmar, all we studied there. Plus, question আমি সুধিছো in mini test series 10 test 10 rank ready mains programmer. Analyze the challenges posed by the ongoing crisis in Myanmar to internal security of India. Straight. What measures should India adopt to combat these challenges? Plus, drug bans ওপৰত আমি 38365 ত পঢ়াইছো। And এইটো ইন্ডিয়া পাকিস্তান এটো সবে পঢ়াইছে বাৰু বেল্ট এণ্ড ৰোড ইনিচিয়েটিভৰ কথা এটো পঢ়োৱা গৈছিলে আমাৰ CA365 টো আছিলে বেল্ট এণ্ড ৰোড ইনিচিয়েটিভৰ কথা হে ফটোটো আপোনালোকক দি দিছো explanation Myanmar is a sanctuary cure because we have porous borders 1600 plus India Myanmar borders porous so it allows easy movement weak governance limited state presence in border areas ethnic ties shared tribal affiliation facilitate safe havens strategic location insurgents group like Alpha NSCN use Myanmar's region for camps Limited Myanmar action তেওঁলোকৰ নিজৰে বেজালবোৰ খতম নহয় তেওঁলোকে কি border security চাব earlier Egypt were reluctant or unable to act decisively that China's Belt and Road Initiative and Indian security is deeply connected strategic encirclement port bases on a string of pearls increase China's presence in Indian Ocean I think আপোনালোকৰ মনত আছে এনেকাকে আমাক encircle কৰি লৈছে in Myanmar corridor China Myanmar economic corridor gives Beijing access to the Bay of Bengal influence expansion and border and northeast impact Now, question number 4, give an outline of pro and con of financial liberation. This is the basic, bro. This is basic. Everyone has taught, or if not taught, then danger wala baat hai. It's a red flag if your institute has not taught you this. So, to financial liberation, আমি এইটো ফাউন্ডেশনত পঢ়িছো যদি আপনি ব্লু দেখা পাইছে ইকোনমিক লিবারেশন ফাইনান্সিয়াল লিবারেশন লেখা আছে আৰু তাত আমি pro and con ৰ কথাও পঢ়িছো and this is cost of teaching that in the foundation classes Pro ki likhisu, capital inflow attracted FDI and FII boosting investment, banking reforms, increased efficiency and competition, market expansion, develop equity and bond market, global integration, improve India's access to global finance and technology. Financial inclusion o kothao ami likhisu. Con ki hoy volatility, external shock and capital flight risk, inequality, benefit concentrated in urban and formal sectors, regulatory challenges, need for stronger supervision to avoid crisis, Short-term flows, dependence on volatile portfolio investment and rural neglect, limited impact on small borrowers and rural credit. Now, question number 5, eto kothai ma koi asilu, dark oxygen as such ami explain deeply kora hua nai. How is it produced? Where is it found? Why? Although jodi apnaloke amar prelims crash course or part asile ba prelims or amar test series disile eto apnaloke parile heten baru tat ami model answer disilu to thateo claim kora nai. So dark oxygen refers to oxygen produced in absence of sunlight through non-photosynthetic biochemical processes. Production code hoy microbial reaction in dark environments. Certain microbes split water molecules or generate oxygen as a metabolic byproduct. Where found, discovered in deep sea hydrothermal vents, oxygen minimum zones and subsurface ecosystem area beyond sunlight penetration. Importance, challenges traditional understanding that oxygen originates from photosynthesis, supports life in dark environments, sustaining unique ecosystem, provides insight into early earth condition and possible extraterrestrial life, and may influence global biogeochemical cycle. Carbon tax. How will this tax be utilized? What are the problems that may arise while assessing this tax? Name the first industrial sector to come under this purview. Carbon pricing, global financing mechanism, ebur sob ami apnalokok current affairs or pohaisilo. Okay? That we taught to you in current affairs. This is a photo of CA365. They joto amo anike photo diso CA365 er photo hai. So a global carbon tax is proposed international levy on carbon emission to address climate change uniformly. Idea is to impose a fixed tax on the carbon content of fossil fuels on each ton of CO2 emitted. Each ton of CO2 emitted opor eta price dhora goise aru june jiman CO2 emit koribo himan tax koribo lagibo is the concept of global carbon tax. The revenue juntu ei tax to ba ulabo will fund climate adaptation and mitigation projects especially in developing country, support clean energy transition, green technology and carbon sequestration, compensate vulnerable nations for climate related loss and damage. That assessment or challenge ki hoy determining uniform carbon pricing across countries with different economic capacities. Itia jun hokol developed country hoy. He developed country bilake basic carbon dioxide release kore. That's obvious because they have a larger number of manufacturing units but larger industrialization to higher hoy as compared to the one which are developing. Itia kotha to hol তেওঁলোকে হেতু প্ৰাইসিং যদি আমি বেসিকে ধৰি দিও তেতিয়া হলে ঠিক আছে গ্লোবাল হেৰি বহুত ফুটি হ'ব because high amount of revenue is going to come out but developing nation e hetu পইচা কেনেকে দিব আৰু যদি কম কে ধৰা হয় then developing nation will be saying যে just because they are emitting more amount of carbon dioxide তেওঁলোকক কম কে চাৰ্জ কৰা হৈছে আৰু আমি হিমানে চাৰ্জ দিব পইচা দিব লগা হৈছে যিমান এটা ৰিচ মানুহে দিব লগা হৈছে so হেতু এটা assessmentor বহুত ডাঙৰ problem হয় especially because of the wide range of income inequality or GDP across the globe Accurately measuring emissions, especially in developing countries, avoiding double taxation and ensuring compliance, negotiating political consensus at global level. तो इतना এনেকুৱা হৈছে কি মানুহে মানুহৰ লগত টেৰিফতে কোৱেশ্চন কৰিব মানে গ্লোবাল কাৰ্বন টেক্সটো বড়ি বাত है সো হেতুৰ ওপৰত পলিটিক্যাল কনসেনসাস গুটৱাটো ডাঙৰ কথা aviation industry was the first industrial sector brought under a global carbon pricing mechanism through CORSIA scheme of International Civil Aviation Organization. This is, I think, one of those questions which surprised us by the amount of closeness that came. Question I say sabo discuss the role of Panchayati Raj institution in effective disaster management. Ami ki question disu. This is Onukhilon available on Telegram. Apnalke cross check kori sabo pare. Critically analyze the role of Panchayati Raj institution in local disaster management. Teoloke discuss koribo dise. Ami critically analyze koribo disu. Exactly the same question. Exactly the same question. Yeah, because I PRI beleg question disilu, but eta question it's like copy pasted version. So Silog question paper set kora aptitude. Explanation আমি কি দিম Panchayati Raj institutions are crucial for disaster management because of their proximity to communities and local knowledge. Roles include prevention and preparedness, conducting awareness campaign, identifying vulnerable areas, preparing local disaster management plan, and maintaining infrastructure such as shelter and drainage. Response, acting as first responders during disaster by mobilizing resources, coordinating evacuation and ensuring immediate relief distribution. Recovery and rehabilitation, facilitating rebuilding of houses, restoring livelihood, and ensuring inclusion of marginalized groups. Coordination, linking local community with district state disaster management authority. PRI can ensure community participation, transparency, accountability in disaster response under DDMA 2005. PRIs have a clear role in 15 Finance Commissioner kotha likhi dibo pare. Again, this is one question jonto ami last year hudisu, this year hudisu. Question to ki hudisu, what are the objective and components of the PDS system in India, given account of implementation of PDS of the country? Etu hol Onukhilon 1.0. This we organized in July 2024. The paper is still available in the Telegram. Apuni all of do gusi kore dekhai pabo. Direct question. Direct question was asked, public distribution system has more benefits rather than challenges. So yat ami hudisu objective and component, yat hudisu more benefits rather than challenges. So it is even more complicated actually. Direct question, PDS support plus rank ready mains program or GS3 part 1 or ami hudisu. Despite having a food surplus, India suffers from hidden hunger and micronutrient deficiency. Evaluate the limitation of existing food security schemes, suggest a way forward for achieving nutrition security. So ইয়াত যে হুদিছে given account for implementation of PDS হেতুকে আমি হুদিছো in terms of food security schemes which is PDS. So হেতুৰ ওপৰটো question আমি already খুদি থৈছো. Objective কি হয় PDS or providing food grain at subsidized rate to poor household, stabilize prices and ensure food security, reduce hunger and malnutrition. Component কি হয় procurement of food grain by the FCI, storage and transportation across states, and fair price shop for distribution to beneficiaries under NFSA card scheme. Implementation to kotha jodi kobo jay both central and state government implement kore jono NFSA Act ase transforming PDS into a legal entitlement. Itia khali etu pua facility nohoy, it's a sort of a right. It's a legal right, a legal entitlement, covering 75% of the rural and 50% of the urban population. Many states have introduced e-POS devices, digitization of ration card, portability through One Nation, One Ration Card. Despite challenges like leakage and exclusion error, PDS remains a lifeline for millions. AFSPA. A question of Dekhi Gandip Sabak se basic khushi sile because he taught AFSPA over 2 classes. Himan detail ke pohaisilo ami AFSPA because we knew, I think current affairs or disu question or disu. So AFSPA 1958 is still operational in some part of the Northeast region. The act is termed as Draconian Act by critics, including human rights activists. Share your views. I hope you did. So edu amar class AFSPA. Duta class pohaisile internal security very detailed class eta loisile Gyandipe. Class duta loisile Gyandipe. Question ami hudisilu discuss 2 sources of internal security in Northeast India and how the government is addressing them. Where we expected people to write about AFSPA, losile likhise AFSPA kotha. আৰু হেতু আছিল rank ready mains program of GS3 part 2. AFSPA and human rights concerns. AFSPA grants special power to the armed forces in disturbed areas, including part of Northeast region. Provisions include arrest without warrant, use of force, and immunity from prosecution without central sanction. Critics say, why do they call it a draconian law? Because Draconian Act, because it allegedly gives excessive use of force, custodial death, and human rights violation. Excessive force diya karne. Lack of accountability due to immunity provisions which erodes public trust, undermines democratic principle and alienates local population. However, supporters argue that AFSPA is necessary for national security and counter-insurgency in volatile regions. Recent years have seen partial withdrawal of AFSPA, so on and so forth. Cybersecurity. এইটো কালি আজি ক্লাছৰ পৰহি ক্লাছত পঢ়োৱা এটা টপিক যোনটো অলৰেডি আমাৰ মেইনছ ক্ৰাশ কোৰ্সত পঢ়াই গৈছিলে মৰ্নিং বেচৰ ইন্টাৰনেল সিকিউৰিটি হৈ গৈছিলে সো তাত পঢ়াই গৈছিলে প্লাস আমাৰ ইভিনিং বেচৰো ৰিসেন্টলি হৈ গল পৰহি question is cybersecurity threat has added a new dimension to the India security. How is India enhancing the cybersecurity capabilities? The laws and policy, IT Act, this government initiative or kotha aram se pahai. So cybersecurity was a detailed topic which was taught in our internal security class. So june bhabi se এই যোনবোৰ ইম্পৰ্টেন্ট বোৰ সেকেন্ডাৰী টপিক বুলি কয় কবাত we consider these to be the primary topic. আমি আমাৰ মেইনছ ক্ৰাশ কোৰ্সত কি কৰিছিলো some kids also talked about it যে যোনবোৰ টপিক মেইনছ oriented DM হক international relation হক ethics হক internal security হক social justice হক এইবিলাক বস্তু আমি actually core subject বিলাকতকে বেছি deepকে পঢ়াইছিলো because I'm expecting যদি আপুনি prelims pass কৰি মেইনছত আহিছে your concepts about polity history geography Assam all this must be clear আসামত আমি এডিশনাল বস্তু পঢ়াইছিলো বাকি সবেই পঢ়াইছো বাট বাকিবোৰ লাইট কে আৰু এইবোৰ বস্তু এইবোৰ যোনবোৰ সাবজেক্ট মেইনছ oriented হয় we went much deeper into it and resulting কি হৈছে তাৰ পৰাই ডাইৰেক্ট কোৱেশ্চন আহিছে কোৱেশ্চন সুধিছিলো আমি ডাইৰেক্টলি ৰ্যাঙ্ক ৰেডি মেইনছ প্ৰগ্ৰামৰ GS3 পাৰ্ট 2 ইয়াৰ এটা পেপাৰ যদি আপোনালোকে কৰি গল হয় minimum 2-3 questions has come from each paper including অনুশীলন which was a free initiative of Sandpaper. So question to you, examine the role of cybersecurity strategy in ensuring data protection and digital sovereignty. Etu policies or kotha pohaise cybersecurity policy kotha pohaise government network citizen data this is cost stuff okay so ami gyandipe nohoy cost of pohaisile about cybersecurity. So cybersecurity threats have added a new dimension to India's national security affecting critical infrastructure governance and personal data. India is enhancing its cybersecurity capabilities through a multi-pronged strategy. Institutional framework, establishment of certain National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center, NCIIPC, and the National Cyber Coordination Center, NCCC. Policy initiatives, draft cybersecurity strategy, DPDP Act, sectoral cyber guidelines by RBI and SEBI, capacity building, technology and infrastructure, providing for promoting indigenous cybersecurity tools, AI-driven threat detection, international cooperation, engaging in cyber diplomacy, information sharing like-minded countries. Despite such steps, challenges remain in ensuring coordination across agencies. Now, question number 11, explain the main component of union budget, discuss the significance of fiscal deficit in Indian budget. So, this is budget, this is deficit. So, আমি budget use কৰি পেলাই fiscal deficit কথা পঢ়াইছিলো and this is the picture from our foundation batch. And this is Kostav, he has taught fiscal deficit আৰু আৰামছে budget পঢ়াইছিলে. In fact, I think majority পঢ়াইছে, নপঢ়ালে again red flag. Main component কি হয় আমি explain কৰি দিছো revenue budget capital budget fiscal policy and excess যোনটো FRBM statement হয় medium term policy macroeconomic framework etc আৰু demand for grant and appropriation ministry wise estimates significance macro stability signal lower FD মানে fiscal deficit improves sovereign risk keeps bond yield and inflation expectation contained debt sustainability persistent high fiscal deficit raises public debt per GDP ratio elevating interest burden and reducing fiscal spaces external balance. Higher fiscal deficit can widen current account that is via demand is to ratio import. If in not investment led our quality of deficit, our fiscal deficit financing capex is growth positive, revenue heavy deficits are inflationary and unsustainable. So apuni you have to explain the main components of union budget which is already there revenue budget capital budget fiscal policy and excess and demand for grants and you also had to explain the fiscal deficit our budgetary process to keneke impact kore. Briefly discuss the Sustainable Development Goal, analyze how far the development plan of India meets the requirements of SDG. Again, SDG is also a very kiba topic, sobe pohua topic. SDG upar prelims or question I say to me pohaisili SDG upar. This is also a foundation class ka picture, and this foundation this is Kostav. He taught SDG in details in our foundation class. Purpose of SDG, what are SDG? Kudisile how far the development plans of India meet the requirements of SDG. SDG সবে পঢ়িছে আমি কারেন্ট অ্যাফেয়ার্সটো পঢ়াইছিলো বাট দিয়া না ৰিমাইন্ডবোৰ ফটো হৈ গৈছে দিবলে আমাৰো অলপমান শৰ্টকাট যাব ইচ্ছা গল সো ইন্ডিয়ান এলাইনমেন্টৰ কথা যদি পঢ়িব যাও নীতি আয়োগ leads mapping and SDG India index state prepare SDG vision and action plans social protection NFSA PM Ayushman Bharat PM Awas Jal Jeevan Mission PM Kisan Ujjwala NEP 2020 Samagra Shiksha has advanced SDG 1 to 6 and 10 infrastructure job Gati Shakti PLI MSME skill SDG 8 to 9 sustainability renewable solar wind EV policies Namami Gange Swachh Bharat afforestation national hydrogen mission SDG 6 7 12 13 15 governance partnership digital public infrastructure Aadhaar UPI DBT local body strengthening SDG 16 to 17 so আপোনালোকৰ যোনবোৰ আমাৰ স্কিম আছে এই স্কিমবোৰ আপুনি ম্যাপ কৰিব লাগিছিল with your SDG so it was important that you remember your SDGs progress and gaps notable gain কি হৈছে এটো আমি এক্সপ্লেইন কৰিব লাগিব challenges কি পাইছো যে learning losses nutrition stunting anemia female LFPR urban air quality solid waste judicial policy capacity climate resilience state-wise disparity all these are challenges data and financing are issue আছে granular frequent data দৰকাৰ হয় close the যদি financing gap হয় green bond and overall যোনটো আমাৰ situation যে আমি 2030 target যোনবোৰ আছে তাৰ last mile delivery আমাৰ চলি আছে so that thing also we need to explain so A2 this is the third question which we have not taught eta to microRNA aru eta kiba dark oxygen aru eta A2 national generic document registration system ami already kisan suvidha app pohaisu but jehetu kisan suvidha app is only the second part of the question moi jeneke last video koisilu we should have claimed 18 and a half like this we should have claimed 17 and a half kintu ami nai kora we are claiming 17 jonto amar national generic document registration system hoy tar objective ki hoy create a uniform, configurable, secure and transparent digital platform for land document registration across states, reduce discretion, time and cost, enable interoperability with land record and stamps. Salient feature, online document entry, eKYC, role-based access, auto-valuation and stamp duty calculation, payment gateway, marker checker workflow, e-alert, appointment token, etc. Plus, our key app or Kisan Suvidha app or key benefit ase. Kisan Suvidha app or ami weather alert pao, local forecast pao, extreme weather warning pai jao. Market prices pao mandit real time arrival price dekhwa jay ki bostu bilakor price kiman that we get to know input dealers certified seed fertilizer pesticide outlet or kotha gom pao plant protection advisory pest and disease identification and remedies or kotha gom pao insurance and claims jumbo details ase hebur ami gom pao soil health and agronomy kotha gom pao linkages to soil health card and crop wise recommendation and general advisories ami pao messages from agriculture department and krishi vikas kendras. So again, another direct question, point out the significance of industrial corridor in India, what needs to be done to address again Onukhilan. So kunba joni Onukhilan 3 GS3 বহুত কম মানুহ appear কৰিছিল see this is what happens second you need to appear the test that Onukhilan was there available but people still choose not to appear GS3 so GS3 Onukhilan to direct another question A2 paper Onukhilan paper to pe 3টা 4টা প্রশ্ন একে আহি গৈছে question ki asle what are the challenges in implementing industrial corridor in northeast India what is the significance and what need to be done for the challenges in Indian industrial corridor or kitna straight puchenge significance ki hoy logistic transformation multimodal connectivity railroad port lowers turnaround time and freight costs support just in time manufacturing clusterization enables plug and play park common utilities and supply ecosystem scale economies export competitiveness balance regional growth disperses industry beyond metros stabilizes new town investment magnet, de-risk land, truck infra, and stable utilities crowd in FDI PPP. Challenge ki pao, land acquisition or challenge pao, rehabilitation delays pao. Last mile gap pao, corridor, trunk and factory gate or major. Utility reliability pao, pani na thake, power na thake. Regulatory friction, approval, environmental clearance, cross jurisdiction, ebu bahut. Financing and governance, project structuring and viability and SPV capacity. What should be done? Corridor to node discipline, time-bound DPR, land pooling, and brownfield upgrading around nodes korbo lagibo unified clearance dile bhal hoy single window with beam approval GIS place spot allotment and standardized concession template so g amar challenge paisu hey challenger juntu amar solution ase hey solution to ke ame ki boli put korbo lagibo what should be done reliable utility 24/7 quality power circular water system zero liquid discharge common SCTPs freight reform dedicated freight spurs paperless custom green logistic etc skilling and housing sustainability with disciplined execution corridors can be the growth flywheel for the next decade this is the third question juntu amar pura ahanai boli ami koisu which are what are microRNAs discuss their main mechanism what are their therapeutic potential who won in 2024 Nobel Prize this is pretty factual actually edo full of biological facts eto answer hoy explain korole mur tan lagise apnaloke kiba kori pelai video to post kori pelai sai okay now explain geosynchronous and sun-synchronous orbits in space tech artificial satellite placed in two orbits have different application explain eto ami pohaisilo this is again cost of science and tech ami eto bostu detail on pohaisu so geosynchronous and sun-synchronous eko geostationary geosynchronous ami aram se pohaisilo so geosynchronous orbit period hai 24 hours satellite appears to repeat ground track daily geostationary is a special case circular equatorial zero inclination satellite appears fixed over one longitude so junto amar longitude hoy সেই লংগিটিউডটোৰ ওপৰতে স্যাটেলাইটটো ফিক্স হৈ থকা যেন দেখা যায় এপ্লিকেশন কি হয় টেলিকম এন্ড ব্ৰডকাস্টিং ডিটিএইচ স্যাটকম ইন্টারনেটত ইউজ হয় ওয়েদার নাও কাস্টিং মানে ইতিয়াৰ বস্তুটো ইতিয়া কাস্ট কৰা ডিজাস্টার ওয়ার্নিং কন্টিনিউয়াস হেমিস্ফেরিক ইউজৰ ওপৰত এটাই লংগিটিউডৰ ওপৰত প্লেস থাকে ন সো কন্টিনিউয়াস হেমিস্ফেরিক ইউজটো আহিবই সিকিউর স্ট্র্যাটেজিক যোনটো আমাৰ কমিউনিকেশন হয় হেতু কাৰণেও ইউজ হ'ব পাৰে Pros কি হয় continuous coverage of a region, large footprint. Cons latency, weaker spatial resolution and high launch energy. Sun synchronous to হয় near polar, low Earth orbit, 500 to 900 kilometers of থাকে with precise orbital plane to remain constant local solar time at each pass. Enables uniform illumination, shadow geometry for imaging. Application কিহত হয় Earth observation, agriculture, forestry, urban water resource mapping. যেহেতু এটো closer হয় যেহেতু sun synchronous is closer as compared to geosynchronous তো আমাৰ যোনটো কিবা হয় যোনটো earth observation হয় that has been attributed to sun synchronous so agriculture forestry urban water resource mapping এইবোৰ সব কোনে কৰে sun synchronous এ কৰে cartography disaster assessment climate vulnerability variability military ISR সব কৰে sun synchronous এ pro high resolution imaging repeatable condition con limited dwell time requires constellation and ground planning different application offers different kiba আৰু হেতু wide area time dense coverage ideal for communication rapid weather updates so on and so forth বেলেগ বেলেগৰ কাৰণে বেলেগ বেলেগ হয় Again, question number 17, discuss the changes in cropping pattern in Indian agriculture since the adoption of new agricultural strategy in 1960. Critically examine the impact of implementation of these strategies of the environment. Again, a foundation class topic. Junto, I think, sobe pohaise. Cropping pattern 2 is basic. Cropping pattern sobe agriculture pohai. Amiu pohaisilu. আৰু ইয়াত কি সুধিছে discuss the changes in cropping pattern in Indian agriculture since the adoption of new agricultural strategies এটা যদি green revolution বুলি directly কৈ দিলে হেতেন তেতিয়া আপোনালোকে ইজি পালে হেতেন because green revolution সবে পঢ়িছে কিন্তু indirectly সুধিছে so that আপুনি কনফিউজ হয় কিন্তু ইমান টেনশন হ'ব লগা একো কথা নাছিল এটো green revolution এ সুধিছে so green revolution success or failure আমি একদম ডিটেইলত পঢ়াইছো this is নিশান্ত our foundation class of photo হয় So shift since Green Revolution, cereals intensification, HYV irrigation and fertilizer expanded wheat and rice in Punjab, Haryana, Western UP. Core cereal and pulses receded. Regional divergence was Eastern India later adopted paddy, oilseed, cotton, BT era. Sugarcane in command areas and horticulture boomed. Commercialization ahile, higher market orientation, contract farming pockets create whole. Rabi crop or expansion whole via groundwater extraction and MSP incentive. Impact ki whole environmental, groundwater depletion whole obviously, falling water table, paddy weed rotation, soil degradation whole, salinity, micronutrient imbalance whole from urea heavy use, biodiversity loss whole, monoculture replacing millets and pulses, agrochemicals or kotha ahile, GHG mane greenhouse gas emission whole and landscape risk whole, canal seepage, micrologging, etc. Course correction ami kaneke koribo parim, diversification to pulse, wheat, oilseed, region appropriate crop. যেনেকে Punjab, Haryana is not the ideal place for having rice. তেওঁলোকে একদম over exploitation of groundwater কৰি পেলাই হলেও commercialized rice sell কৰি আছে. So হেবোৰ আমি অলপমান ঠিক কৰিব লাগিব. আমি region appropriate crop grow কৰিব লাগিব. Water smart practice use কৰিব লাগিব. Micro-irrigation, solar pump এইবোৰ use কৰিব লাগিব. Nutrient stewardship, 4R fertilization, biofertilizer, soil health card এইবোৰ use কৰিব লাগিব. তাৰপিছত আমাৰ low chemical model বিলাকলৈ shift হ'ব লাগিব. Market signal, MSP reform, incentive less, water crops, value chain, climate resilient seed and insurance penetration koribo lagibo. Again, food security. What is meant by food security? What are its dimensions? Examine the role of National Food Security Mission in ensuring food security in India. So, government initiative of food security, Gutebure ami pohaisilu, Poshan 2.0, Pradhan Mantri Galit Kalyan, Anna Yojana, food fortification or food enrichment, National Food Security Act. This is also taught, and this is Kostav again. Etu ami nijor foundation class ot pohaisilu, economics ot. Also, আমি কি কৰিছিলো আমাৰ যোনসকল কারেন্ট এফেয়ার্স স্টুডেন্ট হয় প্লাস বাকি সকলো স্টুডেন্টক আমি এটা ৰিসোৰ্স স্ট্যাক দিছিলো অফ PIB আৰু অসম বাৰ্তা এই PIB যোনটো ৰিসোৰ্স স্ট্যাক আছিল তাৰ পৰা আমি এনেকুৱাকে 1 পেজ বস্তুবোৰ উঠাই পেলাই দিছিলো যে ইট ৰাইট যোনটো হয় তাৰ ওপৰত কেনেকুৱা কি কথা what are the key takeaways তাৰপিছত কি বিচাৰিছো কি নিবিচাৰিছো all this thing we gave to food security কথা লিখা আছিল প্লাস যোনটো মই PDF এৰ কোৱেশ্চন দিছিলো Despite having a food surplus, India suffers from hidden hunger and micronutrient deficiencies. That food security scheme or kotha jodi patu PDS jeneke ase teneke National Food Security Mission or kothao ami likhibo paro. Food security hoy ki when all people at all time have physical, economic and social access to sufficient, safe and nutritious food for an active, healthy life. So অকল ফিজিক্যাল নহয় ইকোনমিক এন্ড সোশ্যাল এক্সেসৰ কথা আমি চাব লাগিব ডাইমেনশন কি আছে অ্যাভেইলেবিলিটি হ'ব লাগিব প্ৰডাকশন ষ্টক ইম্পৰ্ট এক্সেস হ'ব লাগিব পাৰ্চেসিং পাৱাৰ পিডিএছ থাকিব লাগিব ইউটিলাইজেশন হ'ব লাগিব নিউট্ৰিয়েন্ট ওয়াটাৰ স্যানিটেশন এন্ড ষ্টেবিলিটি থাকিব লাগে ওভাৰ টাইম শকৰ টাইমতো National Food Security Mission কি কৰা গৈছিলে launch to raise production and productivity of key staples via area expansion, productivity enhancement and farmers income. Component কি হয় NFSM, rice, wheat, pulse, core cereals, high yielding variety of seed distribution, demonstration, soil amendment, micro-irrigation, farm mechanization. There's an NFSM nutri-cereal, millet and oil seed and oil palm at nutrient in import, cluster demonstration and seed hub and breeder strength. Role of ensuring food security, availability, আমি already পঢ়িছোৱে, yield gain and acreage in pulse, millet, reduce protein deficiency, access and stability, higher domestic output stabilizes prices, complements its NFSA, nutrition, resilience and gaps. Gaps কি আছে আমাৰ? Need stronger post-harvest, value chain, localized seed system and convergence with irrigation, marketing and nutrition schemes. Question number 19, why have certain states of Northeast India successfully transitioned from extremism to stability through development intervention, others have not? Very, very tough question and very, very deep question. Fortunately, in our internal security, আমি মিজোরাম কেনেকে ঠিক হল, মণিপুৰ কেনেকে ঠিক হল, অৰুণাচল প্ৰদেশ কেনেকে ঠিক হল, গোটেই বিলাকৰ ট্ৰানজিশনৰ কথা আমি ডিটেইল কে পঢ়াইছিলো কোবা যদি পিস বাৰ্তাৰ কাৰণে আমি অৰুণাচল প্ৰদেশত কেফে খোলা কথাও পঢ়াইছিলো সো দিস वाज টট বাই জ্ঞানদীপ সো একদম ডিটেইলস মে each of the stateৰ ওপৰত how the transition happened কোনে কেতিয়া peace treaty sign কৰিছিলে that was also explained in our internal security class. So drivers of successful transition, inclusive political settlement and credible peace accord, details of pohaisu, every state on, demobilization with rehabilitation and livelihood packages, connectivity and markets, better road, cross-border trade point tourism, Tripura's gas and power connectivity to Bangladesh, Sikkim, leveraging hydel and ecotourism, targeted development, health education, investment, decentralized delivery, community-led conservation like Mizoram's NLUPD and need-based livelihoods, administrative continuity and policy reforms. Baki bilake kyo lag korise factional militancy, splinter groups and fragile ceasefires, ethnic contestations over land and resources. So all of them kane hai hanti hoise factional militancy still exists, splinter groups still exist. Porous borders and illicit economies, narcotics and arms enabling insurgent finance, topography and governance deficits, difficult terrain, capacity shortage, corruption leakages are a problem, and trust deficit due to excess or slow justice, periodic triggers, resource conflicts. Way forward, jungur amar problem ase tar ultatwe development as peace dividend, time bound delivery of road, power, broadband, market, livelihood cluster ebu hobo lage, institutional trust build korbo paribo lage, human rights sensitive policing and truth reconciliation wherever needed, border management and legal trade corridor kotha pohibo lage, education, skilling, sport and cultural integration to reduce alienation, data driven governance with civil society partnership. An example shows development works when paired with inclusive politics and credible security sector reforms. At last, question number 10, examine the evolution of Assam Rifles' role in border management and counter-insurgency operations, what strategic and operational advantage and challenges emerge from this hybrid mandate, and analyze how unified command structure has evolved in response to dynamics in Assam. So, again, security analysis juntu kwa gosile, juntu specially Assam Rifles opor, I think at kobat hi likhise. Assam Rifles or upon both details or Pova Gosile. It was Assam Rifles or upon Likise challenges faced by CAPF. All these things have been taught only. To Assam Rifles, this is a part of our mains crash course or study module or part. Or mains crash course or foundation or kiba hoy. This is a part of the foundation and mains crash course classes. So I mean Assam Rifles and unified command structure or fair detail mein padhaya tha. So Assam Rifle, the dual mandate, border management along India-Myanmar frontier, company operating bases and patrol surveillance assistant to border residents, and counter-insurgency in Northeast India. Area domination, intelligence-based ops, civic action programs. Advantages ki hoy, seamless information flow hoy between border queues and hinterland. Rapid force mobility and unified logistics because eketai source dutate ase. Continuous local engagement hoy, builds human intelligence, civic action, wins hearts and minds. So enukai no hoy ki okol protection kori ase. Se juntu amar society hoy tar logoto teoloke relationship build kore. Challenges ki ase role and conflict overstretch, differential doctrine chain, MHD administrative control versus army operational control. So keteba overlap hoy, keteba clash hoy, kune ki order dise. Human rights sensitivity and legal scrutiny in CI, complex border ethnography. Obviously, that's a big problem. Terrain and supply constraints. Unified Command to Assamot hoise, related to Coordinate Army, CAPF, State Police, and Intel under chairmanship of the Chief Minister. So early year of kinetic focus is like search koribo, area domination koribo, protecting critical infrastructure. Kintu itia hetu key shift hoise Unified Command to ki intelligence based operation koribo. Anike blind search kori pela area domination koribo, not that. Targeted approach lobo, intelligence led operation korbo, targeted action against leadership and financing, and surrender rehabilitation policies. So current emphasis is calibrated de-escalation where violence recedes, focus on development convergence, border management with tech, and community engagement. Next assessment, hybrid mandate offers strategic agility but needs clear SOP, accountability, and right compliant practices. Baki ami likhisu je has been Assam's gradual stabilization and integration. So, apni sale 7 out of 20 question were keneke ahise from the rank ready mains program, from foundation, from mains crash course, especially rank ready mains program. No wonder it's the longest running mains answer writing program in Assam. So, khali moi junbur model answer hole bahut quick ke koi golo because GS2 or GS3 ekeloge milai pela koisu, so more or less 2 ghonta maনৰ video to hoise eto, and muru dhojjo komise apnalokor dhojjo ase na nai moi najanu to look at it, but যেতিয়াই মই কোনটো বস্তু যদি বেছি ফাস্ট কৈছো that stop কৰি লব video to and you look what is being written there. We will try to give a solved version of these papers. Again the new foundation courses started. I am again getting invested there. Amar Saturday kali pora mane Saturday pora current affairs classes ako start hoise. Amar MCQ series start hoye goise. So again I'm getting invested there. So thoda sa time lagega to bring a model answer for all this. But jodi apnalokor osor homoy ase explanation bur rokhai pela pohi lobo. Bhalke likha hoise, shorter likha hoise, but bhalke likha hoise. You can take a screenshot of it and you can also keep it. You can also read it. Okay. So chalo then, we have tried to show you the best possible way how we have Bhagavana Kripat able to achieve the number of commons that we have shown you. 19 out of 20 questions in GS2 had come from Sandpaper Academy, and 17 out of 20 questions in GS3, which is the deciding factor this time, has come from Sandpaper Academy. Kisuman question to aro onukhilonar pra ahise. So ami onukhilonar juntu program hoisile ami olop quite early in the time koisilu, ta paper bu apnalokor YouTube ot kibate ase, Telegram ote ase. So see, this is the kind of aptitude you need even in the term of questions that you are solving in order to have a smoother mains. So choice is yours. Again, I keep saying, I'll come tomorrow. I'll come with GS4 and GS5, which will be the final analysis. I know board late ho gise, but again, we are also caught up in a lot of things. Again, time lagi se, but I'll come tomorrow. Till then, like, share, subscribe, Sandpaper Academy for Civil Services. Thank you.